Now live from his in-home studio from Merrickville, Ontario, Canada, which is literally in the middle of butt-fucking nowhere, your host from Duane's world, Duane, the Boozin blogger!
Look at that fine introduction. Thank you very much, folks. Today on Duane's world, what are we going to cover? First, I'm going to explain something to you. I got to ask, what's the difference between your blog and your podcast? Well, my blog is one topic, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes at that. And my podcast is multiple topics over 15 minutes to half an hour, give or take. So there's the difference between my podcast and my blog. So welcome to Duane's World for January 26th during this COVID bullshit that's still going on. Go figure. Anyway, let's get to the headlines. No show is complete without this, I tell you. Also, remember, folks, subscribe to my YouTube channels. Check me out on Spotify, Apple, all your streaming platforms. I'll be there. Me, Duane, the Boozin blogger from Duane's World. Yeah. Anyway, let's hit it off. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of more significant deaths in the world. The world is not a better place with these guys gone. One is Meatloaf or Michael Lee Aday. You all have or have heard Meatloaf's albums, Bad Out of Hell 1, 2, and 3, and his greatest hits and all that stuff. He was such a fantastic entertainer. And he died on the weekend of 74 at the age of 74. TMZ is announcing that it might have been from COVID, but nobody's backed it up yet. So don't go and quote me on that because, like I said, I'm just going by what I saw from TMZ. But yeah, the world is a worse place now without his great music. One thing that has happened, all his music has become popular again. Yeah, there's nothing like death to get your music going again, but unfortunately, he's gone. If you don't know who he is, go online, check out Meatloaf, listen to his tunes. They're amazing. I grew up with all these songs, and I've had both the LP and the CD and the cassette tapes of his music, and he was just amazing. His voice was amazing. And if you get a chance, go on. He did a really great rendition of the Star Spangled Banner before a baseball game one day, and it's just chilling how great it was done. So yeah, check him out. Now, another unfortunate death this weekend. I mean, all deaths are unfortunate, right? But Louie Anderson, famous comedian, absolutely hilarious guy. He's been on Just for Laughs and all kinds of other things. He's just so funny and so, I don't know, he's just talented and such a nice guy from all accounts. Like, I mean, Louie would meet people and he would stay in touch with them forever. This is all the accounts I'm writing, even from comics that aren't that well known. He was still like, he was a comics comic. He just loved everybody. And unfortunately, Louie passed on January 21st. And it is, the comedy world is really mourning right now because first we lose Betty White, then we lose Bob Saget. Now we lose Louie Anderson. Holy crap. Like, comics are dropping like flies here, and it's awful. Louie died at the age of 68, like I said. And he died of the battle with cancer. It's unfortunate, Louie. Meatloaf and Louie, guess you'll be seeing each other. You're probably hanging out right now, eh? Cheers. All right. What else we got going on here? So, seems Russia's getting ready to invade the Ukraine, huh? Doesn't that figure? Russia's a little pissed off. I think they're having small penis syndrome or something right now. Anyway, some of the reasons might be the fact that since the Cold War ended, NATO's expanded eastward and 14 new countries, including the States, of the former Warsaw Pact and 3 Baltic nations that were once in the Soviet Union, they are now gone. And Russia is getting worried that he has all these NATO allies starting to surround Russia, and Ukraine is another one. And another reason why Putin might be trying to invade the Ukraine is that they're not a NATO member yet, and he could sway whether they become one or not by taking over. But the Ukraine was promised in 2008 that they would become a NATO member sooner or later. So, like, I mean, there's always hope. This might be a threat by Russia, we're not sure. But Biden, he's got troops moving and equipment moving, as do a lot of European countries are getting set just in case Russia invades the Ukraine. It really, really sucks. We could be on the brink of World War III, folks. Could you imagine that? We just go through a freaking pandemic that's killing everybody, and then all of a sudden we got World War III. Fuck, the world is screwed up. Man. I don't get it, but, you know, for me personally, my idea is that, you know what, if Russia wants to take over the Ukraine, let them. There's the Russians, one of the Russian pipelines that cover their oil is going through the Ukraine. And this, for Russia, this shores it up that they can protect it better. But I mean, does the Ukraine really affect us? I mean, they're a worldwide supplier of wheat and corn. But I mean, we can probably get it somewhere else. I don't know. War's bad any way you look at it. But honestly, is it our fight? I'm not sure again. We seem to like to fight other people's battles. And this time we're not, you know, it's not Afghanistan. This time it's Russia. There's a whole big difference. Like, I mean, they have over 100,000 troops ready at the borders of the Ukraine to invade. So, like, a lot of people. So let's keep our eyes peeled on this. See if it gets any more interesting. Oh, it probably will, though. On to sports. That's right, folks. Sports. Anybody my age, or actually some younger, they might know the Montreal Expos. Well, the Montreal Expos and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, they were set to this season split home games and call themselves sister cities. And so half the home games would be in Montreal, half the home games would be in Tampa Bay. They figured they would do this because they could get new stadiums out of the deal, right? They could get 2 open air stadiums, one in Montreal, one in Tampa Bay. And then, you know, that's one way to get a new stadium in Tampa Bay, because they've been fighting for it for a long time. But this week, the government, or the U.S. government, or no, sorry, not the government this time. This time, Major League Baseball said, nope, not going to happen. Now, that doesn't stop our hopes of having baseball back in Montreal. It really doesn't. It could still happen someday. The Bronfmans are still in it. They're still trying to get a stadium built in Montreal, and they're still trying to get an Expos team, or at least a Major League Baseball team. So with any luck, we can get them. Like, I mean, Montreal is such a great spot for baseball. Yes, the folks of Montreal are finicky, and they don't like losing. And so when Montreal was done playing there, their attendance was shit. But they've had games there for weekend games and stuff, and Toronto's played there and stuff. And they're sellouts, like they're automatic sellouts. So I think Montreal is ready for baseball again. I don't know. What do you think? You think they're ready? I do. And I would love to have Montreal back in the National League. I was a fan when I was a kid, and it's a nice, easy 2-hour trip from my house to Montreal to watch a baseball game, as opposed to going, 3.5 to 4 hours to Toronto to watch a baseball game. And I've said this before. I think that I'm not that huge of a fan of the American League. I hate the DH rule. I think everybody playing baseball should have to hit. That's just the way it should be. Yes, mind you, they are talking about getting rid of pitchers hitting in the National League too. So that might be moot point on my part. I don't know. But that's kind of, hope, like I said, maybe Montreal will still be there, or they're still in contention of getting a team. Anyways, let's stick with baseball. So they just announced that there was only one person going into the Hall of Fame this year. That was David Big Papi Ortiz. Congrats, Big Papi. It's pretty wonderful. This year, though, there was only him. And it really, really sucks because this was year 10 for Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, and they didn't get in, which to me is a travesty because they do deserve to be in there. They're saying that they didn't get in because of the steroid abuse scandal from, when they were playing. And I say bullshit. I call bullshit. There are so many things that have went on in baseball over the years, and some of those players are still in the, are in the Hall of Fame. If all these players were on steroids, fine. They made baseball interesting, right? They did. Remember in 1998, the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run battle. It brought baseball back into the forefront of sports. It was amazing to watch. Everybody enjoyed watching the Sammy and Mark go ahead of each other, and neither of those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame either. And I think, what, they probably should be. I don't give a shit about the steroids. Now, if you think about it too, Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds would have made it to the Hall of Fame without steroids. So even if they took half their career and cut it off, they'd make the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is the best hitter of all time, and he does own the home run record. And maybe he took steroids because of McGwire and Sosa and the rest of the steroid pack. Did anybody think of that? Because the only way to compete fairly would be to level the playing field, and that would be taking the steroids. I don't know. It's something to think about. Roger Clemens, holy Jesus, he's amazing, absolutely amazing. So this also could be taken in by because they changed the Hall of Fame changes rules for induction previously. If players could continue to have 5% of the vote, they could stay on the ballot for 15 years. And then they changed it in 2014 to make it for 10%. And that just threw a few people over, that just threw a few people under the bus that weren't going to make it. And it's bullshit, total bullshit. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Barry Bonds is the greatest ball player pretty much of all time. Well, okay, maybe not. I love Ken Griffey Jr. and Tim Raines, but Barry Bonds was a very significant part of baseball, and he should be acknowledged. I don't care if you put an asterisk there or not, put him in the goddamn Hall of Fame. His numbers alone were crazy. During the rule change, though, in 2017, the late Joe Morgan wrote a letter to the Hall of Fame saying to not put steroid users in the Hall of Fame. I really hated Joe Morgan. I hated listening to him fucking broadcast too, by the way. Maybe he should shut his goddamn mouth. He got in the Hall of Fame. Why can't anybody else? That's my opinion, and I'm allowed to it. But they're really hypocrites when it comes to the Hall of Fame, because as far back as the 1880s, Hall of Famer Pud Galvin was pumping monkey testosterone into his system to make him a better ball player. And then during Morgan's era, they had the rampant use of the amphetamines, greenies. So it's not been clean. In the 80s, they had cocaine and all kinds of other stuff. So it's bullshit. It's bullshit. There is no clean period in baseball. There just isn't. So put fucking Clemens, McGwire, Sosa, and especially Bonds, put them in there. Bud Selig, the commissioner, was put in there, and he lied to them saying that he didn't know anything about the performance-enhancing drugs, yet he knew about. Then he comes back and says, "Yeah, he knew about it in 1994." Well, the home run race between McGuire and Sosa was in 1998, so I'm pretty sure he knew. Here's another thing why Clemens should be in there. Clemens has won 7 Cy Young awards. The closest person is 5. Barry Bonds won 7 MVPs, and that's even before he started steroids. And there is nobody else in the league that has had more than 3. So Barry Bonds definitely belongs in there. Baseball, you should be ashamed of yourself. All right, on to our top headlines here in Canada. Yes, everybody's heard of the Freedom Convoy that's going on in Canada here right now, protesting the mandates from that the federal government put in place on January 15th. We don't know why. On January 14th or 15th, the federal government began requiring all truckers crossing the border from the United States into Canada to be vaccinated. And as of January 23rd, all non-Americans entering the United States at a land border must also be fully vaccinated against the thing. So now the truckers are losing their shit, and they're getting a little pissed off that they have to be vaccinated. I don't blame them, really. Don't confuse this with an anti-vax rally, though, because it's really not. They're saying that among the vast majority of the Canadian trucking industry is vaccinated, with the overall industry vaccination rate among closely mirroring what we have. And if that's the case, Ontario, we're at 84%. So Ontario truckers are probably around the same amount. And so that's not a thing. It's not an anti-vax protest. It's an anti-freedom protest because people still believe that they shouldn't be told that they have to inject something into their body. I also don't believe that. But I also believe in the vaccine. I believe in the booster shot, which I'm going to get probably next weekend. And I believe that it helps. I believe it fights COVID, and I've had personal experience with it. I've had friends with COVID that weren't vaccinated, and it hit them really, really hard. They felt like they were dying. And then I've had a very close experience where it was very mild, like a sore throat and headache. So there you go. That was with a vaxxed person. So, I'm pretty sure the vaccination works. I'm not here to say, go get your vaccinations, don't get your vaccinations, but I think it'd be smart to get your vaccinations. That's all I'm saying. Especially for older folk like myself, or who have a medical condition that needs to be looked after. It's probably best to be vaccinated. Now, carrying on, these protests, the trucker protests started in BC Sunday, I guess, and it's following here. It's supposed to be in Ottawa on the 29th of January, which is Saturday. So you got all these trucks getting together, and they're going to cause closures of roads and all this other shit. Some are saying that it'll probably go from downtown Parliament Hill all the way to like Carleton Place, which, for those of you who don't know it, is a very long haul. But what can you do? Like, you got all kinds of these anti-masker or anti-vaxxers joining this protest too. So there are a lot of people out there that are involved in this. And some of them aren't doing it for what the truckers are doing it for. Some of them are just doing it to, further their own agendas. Perfect example, Maxim Bernier and Hillbilly Hilly are there. They have put their names in the hat, and they're organizing rallies. Now, they're anti-vaxxers. They're also arseholes. And I think anything they put their name behind, I wouldn't want anything to do with it, wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Not a goddamn chance. Those guys are crazy. They have no brain whatsoever. And they've been fighting this COVID thing since the start. And what does it get them? Nothing. They're not good people. They're not smart people. And they're just a big pain in the ass. So, yeah, I was kind of behind the truckers until these two arseholes jumped into the game. And now I'm not. 100%. Yes, I am about their freedoms. And I do believe that they have a freedom to choose. And I don't think that they're that big of a deal, actually, even if they are on vax, because if you think about it, okay, I go into Costco, I go into Walmart, I go into Bayshore, right? There's all kinds of people in there that aren't vaxxed. They're wearing their masks, they're following the mandates, but there are all kinds of people that aren't vaxxed. So what's the difference between a trucker going into a grocery store or going in to order takeout or using the bathroom at a truck stop or something like that? What's the difference? Tell me the damn difference. Because truckers, for the most part, don't even get out of their trucks. It's a very lonely job. Like, I mean, I mentioned this in my blog the other day, was that I worked in shipping for quite a while, and I don't recall trucker really running into truckers much. Like they come in for their loads or their unloads and they park their truck. They usually take a nap, read a book, listen to music, whatever they do in there. I don't know. They could be, pulling one off. Who cares? It's their choice. But yeah, so they don't usually get out of the truck. So I don't think they're threatening society by not being vaxxed. People say, well, they're around our food. Well, no, they're not. They get loaded up, they leave. They're not near our food either. So I don't get it. Now they're also saying that some people are coming out saying that it's not affecting our supply chains. Now, maybe it is. I don't know. But this just started on the 15th. And supply chains were fucked up before the 15th. You do the math. You figure it out. Is this really, really crippling our supply chains? I know I went to Costco a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted some boneless, skinless chicken breasts or thighs, and they had none. And I asked the lady, and she says, we're only getting about 20% of our trucks or our orders in our trucks. So yes, but that's a supply chain issue from all over the world. That's not just a trucker mandate crap. That's been happening, and it was happening before the 15th too. So I also heard that on the weekend that people were, the shelves in the meat sections and stuff in the Walmart in Brockville and Kempville were bare or very little there. And I mean, that shows too, but there are people out there saying that it's not really affecting the supply chains. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not witnessing it. So many box stores have an overabundance of product to ship out. So I don't know how much it could be affecting our produce and foods, but I don't know. I have really changed my my view on this though because of Hilliard Bernier. I was all for the truckers. But I mean, even their own, like the Canadian Trucker Alliance Union or whatever in the fuck they're called, they don't agree with this either. And they said that for every trucker that's protesting, there's 10 more on the road. So that means our supply chains are still being looked after. It's just being less looked after by less people. That's all. It's the same way of, if you think about it, restaurants, like they've all had shifts in employment and everything else and not enough waitresses and stuff, but they're still going. Like there are still people showing up to work every day doing their jobs. So I don't know. One interesting thing that did come out of this though, is that there's a GoFundMe page for the truckers to cover their gas, lodgings, and food, which is kind of cool. Canadians are looking after that. It was set up by Tamara Lich, I guess, in Medicine Hat, and they've raised about 4.5 million for these truckers to do it. Now GoFundMe has made it so they can't access their money because GoFundMe isn't sure what her true reactions are, what she's actually going to use this for. She says this for the truckers only, and GoFundMe's not 100% sure of that situation. So maybe these truckers drove all the way here for nothing and they're going to be broke, and then they're going to have to stick around for a while, which is really going to suck because that's really going to clog up our roadways, folks. Either way, I wouldn't go downtown Ottawa. In fact, I wouldn't. I'm not even leaving the house. I'm going to have a whole bunch of these at home, on the weekend and watch football because it's Championship Sunday. But yeah, so there are other things I've heard about the GoFundMe site too. I heard that Justin Trudeau was trying to take it down and call them a terrorist organization. That was unfounded. I scoured and I found Reddit posts that had been taken down. And then I got thinking to myself that Trudeau gives money to terrorists. He's not about to take it away. Remember Omar Khadr, whatever his fucking name was? Yeah, they gave him $10 million. He was a terrorist. So they're not about to take money away from terrorists. They're going to give it to terrorists. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's false. But this whole trucking thing it is kind of interesting how Canadians we might be gullible. We really might be gullible. We're giving all this money for these people, even though we don't really truly know what their motives are. Like I said, it's about freedom of mandates. It's not a anti-vax rally, which a lot of people think it is, but it's not. So, like, I mean, what do we do, folks? What do we do? You can leave comments or whatever, but I'm really, really not sure now. All I am sure is that Ottawa is going to be a total mess on the weekend. All these guys, instead of driving with loads delivering to stores, or it could affect some, but is it really? Like I said, there is so many controversial or so many people talking different. Another thing is that they're going to protest to Trudeau. I don't think Parliament's open on Saturdays. Could be wrong. I have no clue. I haven't been to Parliament Hill, or I haven't been to Parliament Hill since I fell asleep on it in the 80s and got kicked out by a Mountie. Yeah, I haven't been to Parliament Hill, so I don't know if they actually hold Parliament on Saturdays because I got better things to do. But even if Trudeau, take it like this, what if Trudeau did cancel the mandate? Okay. You let the American trucks in through unvaccinated. Do you think Biden's going to do the same thing in the US? I really don't. I don't think Biden's going to do it. So, like, I mean, why would Trudeau do it? Makes no sense to me, folks. It really, really makes no sense to me. And, like, I mean, Biden's going after the Mexicans too, right? No trucks from Mexico or from Canada going into the US without vaccination. So he's doubling down. Trudeau's going to double down. You're going to put him into a corner, and the little bitch ain't going to flinch. I applaud your thoughts that went into this and all the organization that's helped get this off the ground and running, but I really do think it's for naught. There's just no way that Trudeau changes his mind and Biden changes his mind at the same time. It's not going to happen. It's just not the way it works, folks. And if you believe that, you're kind of insane, I think. Like, I mean, they even get people from trucking agencies across Canada saying that this is a non-issue. Like the president and CEO with the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada says drivers who are not fully vaccinated, they pose little threat. It's true. Like I said before, they don't get out of the truck. So what the fuck is the point? Just leave them alone. But on the other hand, if we get rid of the rules for the truckers, who's next do we get rid of the rules for? That could be a reason why the government won't budge either, because then it'll be a free fall of all these mandates they keep putting in, right? People are going to start speaking up and say, hey, what? It worked for the truckers. Let's do this if we're the nurses or the doctors or steel workers unions or whatever. And where does the line stop? And so I get the government's standing firm on this because of that kind of chaos that could ensue, but whatever. Let's just see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching Duane's World. I'm Duane, the Boozin blogger. I'll be back next Wednesday with something else to talk about, or with the aftermath of what the convoy actually caused. That could be coming up too. Take care of yourselves, and remember the most important thing in life. Don't be a fucking asshole!